there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen is suing someone wrongfully and wants my support. After that, my Karen roommate pulled a robbery prank on me. And after that, fire me because I was in the hospital? Okay, you'll be sorry. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to sue anyone. If I were a Pokemon card, suing would be one of my attack moves. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen is suing someone wrongfully and wants my support. I love my sister dearly and have grown to really appreciate my relationship with her over the years. However, she married a guy who often talks her into doing things that are unnecessary. He's had her work full-time jobs so he can stay home and build a barbecue business for years that never even took off. More recently, my sister was returning home from her job when she was involved in a serious accident. She was hospitalized for a couple of days for observation and missed a week or so of work, but was otherwise okay. The other driver was at fault and assumed all responsibility, and their insurance made a more than generous offer to help my sister get their life back on track. However, her husband, my brother-in-law, decided to get an ambulance-chasing attorney and talked my sister into suing the company that the other driver works for close to $1 million. Keep in mind that there were no substances involved, and the other driver had also just finished her shift at her job, and she was going home as well. My partner and I do not agree with this, nor do we think it's necessary to sue. My sister barely graduated high school, so she was likely never going to make $1 million in her whole life. Additionally, her lawyer told her not to go back to work until the lawsuit is settled. So they've now lost their home, and much of what they own is being repossessed due to non-payment. Their son, my nephew, refuses to come home from college because he's so embarrassed at the situation. My sister wants support for them to continue this lawsuit, and my partner and I are not on board. We think it's cruel to the other driver to not just settle and move on, and it's unethical to sue the other driver's employer for something they had no control over. Am I the jerk for not supporting their frivolous lawsuit? Not the jerk. Stay as far away from this as possible. Your sister and brother-in-law are seeing this as a cash grab. The lawsuit will more than likely be thrown out or dismissed in court. No substances were involved. The other driver and insurance assumed responsibility and they paid out. You can love someone, but not like their choices. This is one of those times. If this is what they're choosing to do, let the consequences of their choices fall where they may. My Karen roommate pulled a robbery prank on me. I, 20 female, live in a very safe city, one of the safest cities in the nation. Due to this and lack of parental regulation as a kid, I never locked my doors. I drive a Wrangler and took the top and doors off and have never had a problem with stealing. I've never locked the doors to my house or apartments. This has never been an issue with my old roommates or family. It's just the way I've developed. My roommate, 19 female, since moving in, has increasingly become more paranoid and anxious. I've known her for years, and I've never seen her like this. She thinks there are cameras in her sink. If she gets a bug bite, she assumes she has bugs living in her bed. When she sleeps, she has paralysis where someone comes in to get her. She locks her bedroom door and front door for safety. Knowing this, I've tried to lock the door. However, I don't sometimes. It's a habit I'm trying to break. I came home a week ago. There was crap everywhere. It looked like a mini tornado whirled through my apartment. I went in my room and my TV was gone. My mini boba fridge was gone. All my vintage magazines were gone. So much of my clothes had vanished. It was clear through my eyes that I had been robbed. I sat on my bed and just sat there in shock. On the verge of tears, I called my father who didn't pick up, and I was left defeated practically. Then I jumped up because I was worried for my roommate's room. She was sitting there waiting for me. She had all my things in there, pranked me to try and teach me a lesson about locking the door. My problem is that she never even talked to me. I had no idea this was an issue with her before. She said I should have assumed that I need to lock the door out of respect for a shared living space. After trivial arguing, I shut up and went mute, grabbed all my stuff to put in my room, and I've completely ignored her since. I'm upset and I'm not over it. I find her thought process alarming and delusional. A mutual friend says that I'm overreacting and being rude to her when she's going through a hard time. As much as I understand that she's having problems, I have received zero empathy or question of my feelings. I don't think I'm a jerk. I think everyone's out of their minds, and I need some time away from the crazies. Edit, update. Oh boy, look, I'm just naive. I honestly didn't know. Thank you to all the people who understand that I wasn't trying to be malicious by forgetting to lock the door. Also, no, my roommate is not insane. She's a close friend of mine, and we get along well in every other situation. We do most things together. That's my biggest confusion about this, as she's never had a problem with communication before. So I'm not finding another roommate. She's going to the doctor for her symptoms, and help is on the way. Also, yes, my instinct was to sit on my bed. When you enter that level of shock, it's hard to think clearly. My perspective at the moment was that she was not home yet because her car wasn't there. I wasn't meaning to be selfish by being sad about my collections and not thinking about my potentially hurt roommate. Edit 2. I forgot to mention that yes, I have talked to her. She said that she thought I would think of it as a silly prank and laugh about it when I saw all my things. I didn't take it that way though. I talked to her and asked why she couldn't just ask me one time to be more aware of locking the door every time, which I know shouldn't have to be addressed, but that it would have been a necessary action before stealing all my things, ripping a few of my posters, making the house a mess, which, by the way, she made me clean up, as her way of telling me to do better. I apologized for my stupidity and naiveness. I don't believe in bad people. This has actually been a problem I've always had. Anyway, she apologized too and will be giving me some compensation to help pay for the damage she gave me in the process of this prank. Everyone sucks here. Lock the door. It doesn't matter how you were raised. The second you started living with others, the game changed. The door is not the problem here. The roommate is having paranoid delusions. She needs to see a psychiatrist pronto. When you think there's a camera monitoring you in the sink, do irrational stuff like this without any warning, and your friends notice your growing paranoia, then you bet that there is a mental problem that needs to be addressed. Psychologist here, this is correct. She needs a mental health evaluation pronto. And lock your door, OP. If you have trouble remembering to do it, then get a lock system installed that will help you remember to lock it. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her roommate? Please let us know. OP said they don't believe in bad people. I'm the opposite. I don't believe in good ones. Fire me because I was in the hospital? Okay, you'll be sorry. This happened when I just graduated uni. I had my main job over the weekend, which paid the living, and a side job at a large mobile phone and broadband selling company, basically retail but with phones. The shop was located inside a larger retail store at an island in the middle, and of course a lot of people didn't know about it and didn't exactly visit our store to buy a contract or upgrade. Instead, they would go to the store on the high street, which was a lot nicer and bigger compared to our island. One important detail about the store. They were really strict about the scheduled hours being followed exactly. The working times usually are 9 till 2000 on the weekdays. Tills have to be shut at 8 p.m., otherwise it causes issues with accounting. Staff members, unless they are in the warehouse, cannot stay past 8:10 to 8:15 due to insurance reasons, and only the managers can lock the store up. Warehouse can stay later, and they have their own exit. However, it cannot be used by those who are not working in the warehouse. When you start and finish, you have to put your times in a special machine which compares them to your rotation. Same when you go out for lunch. If you finish earlier than you are scheduled, then the machine will automatically put it in as unauthorized absence. Also in our island store, you have to have at least 2 employees working during the same hours as per company policy. It was my last day at said store. My manager decided to let go of me because I didn't attend a shift due to being in the hospital, and I was still on my probation. I was told that I still have to work the notice period, which was 2 weeks. My manager, we'll call him Dan, had to create rotations 2 weeks in advance as per company policy. He can change the rotations up to a last Friday of the week, meaning he can change the next week rotation on the Friday before, but not after. So Dan scheduled me on my last day on a 1700 to 2100 shift, when my usual shifts are 1600 to 2000. I've asked him if this was correct, both personally and in the team group chat, and he confirmed it. Dan was also the type of those whiny managers who doesn't actually do anything but complain about everything, and doesn't bother to train you or show you the ropes. So I kinda knew he made a mistake, but I decided not to mention it. Cue the malicious compliance. Friday rolls on. I'm hungry, so decided to have a late lunch before my shift starts. I'm putting the order through and notice Dan is trying to call me. I decline. I finish my order to feel that Dan is trying to call me again, alongside with a few texts I received from him. I decide to reply. Dan: "Hey, where are you? You're not at the store, and it's already past 4, and we have one of the higher-ups checking how things are going." Me: "Oh, I'm having lunch. I'm not scheduled until 5 p.m., remember?" "Well, no, you're lying. Your shifts are always 4 till 8. I make sure of it. Get over here. I can't stay as I have to try the food that will be served at my wedding and compose the menu." Me: "Oh, sorry, but I really can't. I've just ordered lunch and I'm waiting for it to be ready, and then I have to eat. I'd asked you if the rotation was correct and you said yes. But in case you don't believe me, I'll send you a screenshot and we'll see you at 5. I did send him a screenshot where I had questioned my times and he confirmed that they were correct. Haven't heard from him until I get back to the store. At the store, I see Dan talking to the higher-up person. Dan notices me first, waves me over as soon as I sign in, and says he really needs to be somewhere else. He just needs to get to his office and get his coat. I nod and have a small talk with the higher-up. Higher-up: "Oh, it was so nice of Dan to cover the start of your shift as you were having a family emergency. He's such a good and caring manager." Me: "Family emergency? Not sure what you're on about, but my shift has just started as per our schedule." The higher-up is confused. He asks to see the schedule, so I gladly show him the pictures Dan has posted in the group chat. Then higher-up turns to me and another member of staff and asks if one of us is a team leader, and if not, then when did we start? After finding out we are not team leaders and have started less than 12 weeks ago, the higher-up gets visibly angry. He stops Dan as he was on his way to leave and tells him he cannot leave the premises as it's against the company's policy to leave employees who haven't been with the company for 12 weeks unattended or to close up, so he must stay. Otherwise, the company insurance is not valid and there will be a hefty fine. Dan has no option but to stay, meaning he was missing the food tasting. He wanted to call his fiancée, however, the higher-up has reminded him no phone calls during the shift and while on the store floor. So Dan couldn't even let his fiancée know, who was texting him non-stop. While higher-up was there and while Dan was forced to do his job, I had a few more conversations with him and brought up all the things Dan failed to provide us training on, alongside with a lack of support and any progression meetings. So by 8 o'clock, higher-up was upset with Dan and was organizing a meeting with him and extra training for him, which I don't think was paid as Dan had to do it outside of work hours. He was also put on a close monitor for at least a month. As everyone was leaving at 8 p.m., I was slowly getting ready. Dan has tried to hurry me up, but I was mainly ignoring him. Dan: "The store needs to be closed before 8:10. Hurry up." Me: "Oh, but you scheduled me till 9 p.m. today. I cannot leave before that as the system will not allow me to clock out." Dan: "Well, you must leave as insurance does not cover us against theft or damage if there's someone else in the store after 8 p.m. We have to put the alarms on too." Me: "Sorry, but I really don't want to miss on any money. You've scheduled me until 9, so I will work until 9. Dan: "What are you going to do? You need to leave." Me: "I can clean the display models and the island does look like it needs to be vacuumed." The higher-up was having the best time in the world. He was still there enjoying the show since he saw that Dan put me on until 9. At some point, he gets tired of our back and forth and told Dan to cover me till 9 p.m. and stay in the store and then change the hours in the system that I finished at 9 p.m. and I can go home. Dan has tried to argue, but the higher-up has pointed out that it was his mistake, and if something happens in the store, he will be the one responsible, as he should have checked the rotations beforehand. Dan has no choice but to follow the orders. From what I've heard, he left around 10 p.m. that day as the system wouldn't allow him to log in. His fiancée also left him a few years later. I do not know the reason why, but she took the house and the dog and saved money since she never married him. I've heard that Dan works as a personal growth coach, but not very successful at it either. Sure, I'll leave the uniform the way it is and wear it at customer events. I used to work as a pastry chef for a catering company in Siberia. It had a very outdated provincial charm, like almost anything in Siberia. But that doesn't mean that my boss didn't sometimes desperately try to up his game and be modern and experimental. At some point, he figured that it would be a good idea to send some chefs to the events and let them plate the food they made in front of the customers for entertainment. He also wanted to incorporate plating gimmicks like beetroot foam or some nitrogen tricks that had to be made on the spot, so he needed us chefs there, not just servers. This meant that he introduced new uniforms that are supposed to be more elegant looking for the customer events. When he got the new uniforms, he gave them out to the chefs who were meant to be going to the events and be seen by customers, and I was one of them. Don't get me wrong, I loved doing catering at weddings and so on because you can witness all the family drama without having to worry about your family or feeling embarrassed for anyone. It's like watching trash TV in real life. But the thing is, I'm very tall, 6'6", and very thin, 120 pounds, and alter my uniforms to make them fit me better. My boss came and gave me the uniform. I asked if I should try it on, and he said no time for that. Just try it on at home and wear it to the event. He said he gave me the biggest size, so it has to fit. I could already see that the chef pants had a thin material and the legs were super wide, but didn't look that long. I asked my boss if I could alter them to fit better, and he got upset and said that it's company property and I can't alter them because someone else has to wear them. I go home and lo and behold, the pants are so wide they will barely stay on my body, but end way above the ankles, and the chef jacket is also too short. I figured that I could use a safety pin to make the elastic waistband a bit more tight and then pull the pants up to my belly button, and then the chef jacket will cover everything, apart from a part of my heavily tattooed lower arms. Okay, maybe I can wrap a towel and no one will notice. And for my legs, maybe I can wear boots that are a bit high, cause since we're not actually really cooking or in the kitchen, I may not have to wear safety shoes. Next day at work, we prepare the van to the location. My boss won't join, so before we go, I tell him about my plan to make the uniform fit me. To be fair, my boss is stressed, cause as always, everything was an uncoordinated mess. He just started yelling at me that safety pins damage the fabric, and it's a safety hazard, and that I have to wear safety shoes, and that this is professional chef attire, and we should all look the same because we appear as a band, and that it's not about my fashion choices. Okay, fine, I'll comply. I go to the event, put on my new uniform in the changing room. The chef jacket sleeves end in the middle of my forearms. It does not cover my belly because the pants sit dangerously low on my hips because that's the furthest point they can slide down to. Basically, I look like a mixture between a chef and an early 2000s pop star with their low-rise jeans. I looked like I was one wrong move away from accidentally losing my pants. And for my legs, I decided that I can cover my legs by wearing Christmas stockings. Yes, very obnoxious ones with grinning Santa and ornaments and whatnot. They were sticking out from my safety shoes. Boss didn't say anything about the socks, so I guess it's fine. I go out, do the job, but kind of preoccupied with keeping my pants where they meant to be. And guess what? Guests actually complained about how I was dressed. Next day after the event, my boss had surely heard about it. Boss called me over and got mad at me for not dressing how he told me to. I said, but I did. You wanted me to wear the uniform that does not fit at all, and you didn't want me to do anything about it. He said, I want you to figure out a way to wear the uniform without showing your belly and without damaging the uniform. Okay, say no more. What if I just wore one leg of the pants, like a skirt? I can tie the other leg around me and it would cover my belly and not damage the pants. So that's what I did to the next event. Did I have much leg room to move in? No. I walked up and down the display in tiny steps like some cartoon grandma. Of course, my boss wasn't happy with that either. He was so mad at me, but I kept saying, give me a solution then, and he just couldn't give me one. He was super annoyed and told me that it's not hard to figure this out. I said, I'm a chef, not a fashion designer, and if it's not hard to figure out, then give me a solution, because I did what I could, and if you don't want me to do what I can, then tell me what to do about it. He yelled at me that maybe I should know what's appropriate and what isn't, and I shouldn't play dumb. So I said, maybe I am actually dumb though, and I left. Just so you know, I was not scared of getting fired because I was confident in the work that I was doing, and my boss would have been insane to fire me over a uniform when we're already understaffed. So it was just satisfying that he had to put up with my stupidity regarding that. But honestly, what could I have done? If it doesn't fit, then it doesn't fit. I ended up being allowed to alter it, but only to make the waistband smaller without cutting it by sewing a loop together. As for the chef jacket, they got me a bigger one, which wasn't the same brand as the others and had a different button color, but they made me change the buttons. Am I the jerk for taking back my husband's gift after he lost me a big promotion? When I, 32 female, was a teenager, I had to go into foster care. The next few years were pretty bad, and I ended up doing some things that I'm not proud of and getting myself into some serious legal trouble. I don't want to go into detail, but I shaped up and managed to avoid completely destroying my life. A few years later, I aged out and reunited with my older brother who helped me get my record sealed. He also helped me get into college, and now I'm working in a field I'm passionate about and a job I love where I met my husband, who's 34. I've been up for a promotion and raise, and it was more or less guaranteed until now. Weekend before last, we had a work party during which my husband got to talking with our CEO, and after having a bit too much to drink, told him about my juvenile history. The next Monday, I got called in by my boss and was told that my promotion would not be happening. I asked why they would do this, and he recounted my history to me in excruciating detail, to the extent that I couldn't even plead ignorance or claim it was untrue. He was sympathetic, but the higher-ups had made it clear that under no circumstances could I be rewarded due to the breach of trust on my part. I said I had no record when I interviewed, and the financial nature of some of my past mistakes. He said it was a leadership responsibility they were not ready to trust me with, and that I could keep my job, but that was it. I was heartbroken, and I felt my husband had betrayed me. We got into a massive fight, and he has apologized profusely and asked me to forgive him because he wasn't in his right mind. Yesterday, I canceled a very large debit transfer which I had promised towards an expensive piece I was getting him as a gift for his timepiece collection. I made the offer when we knew I would be getting promoted, and now that I'm not getting my raise, I just don't want to take that much out of my savings. He hit the roof when he found out because he's now stuck with a huge bill and accused me of being petty and dishonest for continuing to punish him for a mistake he's already apologized for. I told him that he should have thought of that before opening his mouth at the party. He said that while he's sorry I lost the promotion, I have enough savings to do the honorable thing and keep my promise, and that I, of all people, should understand the importance of forgiveness and second chances. I messed up and I paid for it, and I've worked really hard to forgive myself and put my past behind me. But I don't think it's fair that over a decade later, I'm still being punished for something I've already paid for, even if he did so by accident. I don't think I'm the jerk given what he did, but he's currently not speaking to me. I could use some objectivity here. Not the jerk. Please check with an attorney about your boss rescinding your promotion. If your records were sealed, the contents, even if revealed by your spouse, shouldn't be held against you. You may have a legal case. Edit. OP was a teenager, and that could make a difference depending on where they live and the laws there. In the US, most employment is at will, and you're only protected in very specific narrow circumstances like protected class. If they found out you got pregnant as a teenager, and that would be one thing. There is specific protection against discrimination for family status, but something being removed from the public record doesn't make it a legally protected status suddenly. There is no anti-discrimination law, as far as I know, that protects people who committed crimes in the past. If there was, they'd be allowed to vote. They were not able to find this out on a background check, but now that they know, there's likely no legal protection, just like they can fire you if they find out you frequently cheat on your significant other, or you hate cats, or you watch the Cats movie 8,000 times. They don't need a reason to fire or not promote you, as long as it's not within a very narrow protected sphere. My sister gets to go to an awesome summer camp when I'm stuck going to church camp. My parents go on vacation without me, 14 female, and my sister, who's 15, every summer, and they send us to a sleepaway camp. The problem is, we go to different camps, and my sister's camp sounds awesome, and my camp is pretty mid. My sister has this immune system thing, and she goes to a 2-week camp for free for people with the same condition as hers. She's taking pictures, and the cabins are less crowded. The bathrooms are nicer. They have 3 pools. They have archery, horseback riding, canoeing, hiking, casino nights, astronomy nights. People bring telescopes and they stay up late looking at stars and planets. Game nights, and they have actual chefs that cook their food. My parents send me to a church camp because it's cheap. It's usually during one of the weeks my sister is at camp, and they know the directors and priests and volunteers. We're out in the middle of nowhere, literally surrounded by farms, with a pool and a tiny playground that's only fun when you're 7 or 8. They also don't allow technology for campers unless it's school-related. My parents could send an email saying I need my tablet for school, but they say it's good to be away from technology for the week. We do have some fun activities and competitions, but there's a lot of free time where there isn't that much to do except hang out with the other girls. You can't even flirt with any of the guys because there's an 85% chance that you're somehow related. Last summer, my parents were signing us up for camp, and I said either they find a camp like my sister's or I'm not going to go to camp. My parents found one, but it was more than triple the price of church camp, so they said either church camp or I spend the week with my grandma. I went to church camp because grandma's house is even more boring than church camp. All she wants to do is watch Family Feud, The Price is Right, or the news, cook, and talk about when she lived in Palestine. They're already talking about next summer, and I was complaining about having a bad week every summer because they want to go on vacation, and they told me to shut up because they gave me options, and if I find something for under $400, I can do that. Otherwise, I'm going to church camp or grandma's house. They're calling me ungrateful and a brat, so I wanted to know if I was the jerk. Camp professional here, not the jerk. Your sister's camp is likely free of charge, as many camps that cater to kids with conditions are. They operate almost exclusively on endowment, donations, or volunteers. Other than that, camps are expensive. I work for a camp that has all of the activities you mentioned, and on the less expensive side of things, we still clock in at almost $5,000 for a 2-week session. It sounds like your parents have given you an option to go to a camp that's more up your alley, and your choices here are really to take that option next time around or hang out with grandma for a week or go to church camp. At the end of the day, I can see why you're jealous, but it doesn't seem like your parents are able to afford something for you like your sister has access to, and in the grand scheme of things, a less exciting summer camp seems a better option than an immune system disorder. ETA. Many camps, especially those affiliated with the ACA, do offer tuition assistance. If you look a little deeper than the advertised price, you might get lucky. ETA. While I wholly understand the if the parents can afford a vacation, they can send their daughter to a better camp line of thought, it's an uneducated one. Camps that she is describing are typically far more expensive than a 1-week vacation for two. $5,000 for a 2-week stay? That's $357 a day. Karen loses it on a police officer over a 12-pack of water bottles. For some context, I'm a police officer, and in my country, our officers don't really have the same kit that you see in TV shows. I'm part of a specialty unit that is basically a quick response team for situations that could turn bad or just need specialty officers. We have the same kit as the stereotypical American officer, the vest, the AR, the less than lethal weapons, and that sort of jazz. It does vary from officer to officer, so it's safe to assume that I stand out quite a bit. My country also has very strict laws, so it's not common to see people walking down the street with a concealed carry or anything like that. And from here on out, I'm going to use American terminology just to make it easier for everyone to understand. Now on to the story. Myself and a few other officers were dispatched to a call involving a male having a PTSD episode and was threatening to hurt anyone that came near his house. We ended up staying there for a good few hours trying to help the man calm down and get him the help that he needed, which thankfully we managed to do and no one was harmed. So obviously, after I went to that call, I decided to stop at the shops and get something to have as a quick meal to get some energy and calories in me. As I was going down the aisles, I noticed an elderly couple struggling to pick up some 12 packs of water bottles, so I helped them load their bottles into the trolley. Perfectly harmless, right? What could go wrong? That's when a wild Karen appears. "Excuse me." Me, thinking she has a question about something involving policing. "Yes, ma'am?" Karen. "I need you to carry these to my car." She was pointing to the packs of water. Me. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but as you can clearly see, I'm a police officer. I can't be carrying things around for you because I need to be ready to drop everything in a moment's notice. I'm more than happy to help you load them into your cart and help you find an employee, but unfortunately, at the moment, that's the best I can do for you." Karen scoffs. "You aren't a police officer. You're just some wannabe airsofter." I just want to reference here that I'm in my full kit. Me. "No, I very much am a real police officer. I'm part of a specialty unit. That's why I don't wear the uniform you normally see officers wearing. If you wish, I can provide you with my ID and number." Karen. "It's illegal to pretend to be a cop. I'm calling the police and you're gonna get arrested." She proceeds to call the non-emergency number and tells the dispatcher about me. Me. Karen, you're completely in your right to report me and verify I actually am one. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue shopping. Call for a police impersonator that's armed comes over the radio, and I tell dispatch it's me, but to still send regular patrol officers over. Karen, you aren't going anywhere, jerk, proceeds to kick the back of my knee, making my leg buckle and me fall over. Me, that's it, Karen. You're under arrest for assault. Karen proceeds to kick and scream, and all the while I handcuff her, I take her out of the store, and a few store employees are following, trying to stop a crowd from forming. Just as I pulled Karen out of the store to remove her from the public, two patrol officers pull up. One was a supervisor. They asked me why she's in cuffs, so I explained the story, and the supervisor questioned Karen about what happened. She ended up saying that I yelled at her and attacked her, so she kicked my knee to get away from me. Supervisor obviously very quickly took my sidearm and put me into the back of his car. Standard procedure just to cover the department, and took Karen out of her cuffs, and the supervisor apologized profusely and asked if she wanted to press charges. She obviously very happily replied with a yes. So supervisor, Karen, she was very hesitant and insisted she must be going and they can just email her. Store manager and another officer all went into the security room to watch the CCTV footage. The footage showed us talking, her pulling the phone out, me walking away, and then her kicking my leg. Karen was instantly handcuffed and taken back to the station to do all of the booking and all that fun stuff. Here, most of what I know is from talking to other officers, as I was immediately placed on unpaid suspension because I was being investigated for assault. It turns out Karen had a warrant for theft, and once the officers found out, she kicked them a few times and was eventually placed in a cell. On the day of the court hearing, she was found guilty of assault, making a false police report and wasting police resources. Her theft charges were dropped as a plea deal. She got sentenced 1 year jail time and was forced to take anger management classes. Once I was cleared of any wrongdoing, I sued her for lost wages, about 6 months of suspension, and defamation of character because she ended up getting my face published on basically every bit of local news during the whole investigation, and I was labeled as a power-hungry jerk. That ain't a fun reputation to have. So in the end of it, because Karen was too lazy to load a 12-pack of water into her own car, she was sent to jail for a year, lost her job, lost her boyfriend, basically only has visitation rights for her kids. Father used the assault case to get custody of them, and lost a good chunk of change. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.